This is the main event of the evening.
Let me bang, man. I'm Sonny Liston. I'm Jack Dempsey. There's no one like me. I'm from Nairclaw. There's no one that can match me.
You got knocked the fuck out.
You're talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, limousine riding, jet flying, son of a gun.
I'm here with the winner, Derek Lewis. Derek, why'd you take your pants off?
My balls was hot.
My style is impetuous. My defense is impregnable. And I'm just ferocious. I want your heart. I want to eat his children.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the No Bros All Manos podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Phoebus, and I just want to say thank you and welcome back for episode 4. We got a lot on the menu today, but first, give me a like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so that way we can get you notified whenever we got the latest and greatest coming out on all platforms. Also, let's see what else. Yeah, sorry for the late post, I guess you could say. Sister's wedding, just a bunch of other stuff going down outside of the podcast, but we're back. We are here. And before we get into the MMA and combat sports world, let's give a shout out to my Houston Astros, the world champions 2022. Man, it was impressive. Awesome to see. And the same day that they won, my LSU Tigers beat Alabama in an upset at home. It was just a great Saturday. Yeah, but let's jump right into it. We're going to talk today some UFC 281, one on Prime 4, and then maybe a little bit from last weekend. We'll see. Well, we'll get into it. But, yeah, let's jump right into it. UFC 281 is this weekend live from Madison Square Garden on Saturday. It's quite a good card, especially the pay-per-view. Yeah, let's jump right into it. Let's start with the main event. The main event is the third fight, first in MMA though, between Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira. And what can we say about this one that doesn't need to be said? This is going to be a great fight. Of course, Izzy coming in 15-1, coming off the win over Jared Cannonier in his last bout, 3-fight win streak. He's just been beating everybody. I mean, his style is slowed down a little bit. It seems he's more so doing what he needs to win the fight. But is that really just his fault, considering that we've seen him in the UFC for now, what is this? 9 fights, 9 fights, and there's all this tape on him, and nobody's really putting it on Izzy. The only person that's put it on Izzy has been Kelvin Gastelum. That's been his toughest fight. And we haven't seen him pushed since then. And this could be the one, now that he's fighting the nemesis, Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira, this is only his 4th fight in the UFC, and he is going for the title. And he has looked impressive coming into it. The last win being a knockout over Song Strickland in the first round. Yeah, he just looked like a world beater. And he looked like a world beater the first 2 times that he fought Izzy. If you actually go back and watch those fights, though, Izzy was doing pretty decent in those fights until he got caught. And the lights got shut out in the first one. And then the second one, still went down as a loss. And what can we say? Izzy, I think in this one, will threaten a takedown. I think he has to. I think he has to let Alex know that this is MMA and this is not just kickboxing in big old gloves, which also that's another factor that I think is going to play a huge difference in this fight. You are not going to be able to turtle shell up behind 12-ounce gloves. You're in the 4-ounce MMA gloves now, and I think that's going to play a factor. I think that the power advantage is going to go to Alex for sure. As far as the technical skill side, I would probably lean towards Izzy. Though Alex is definitely no slouch on his own. I think Izzy is just more technically sound, has more weapons in the arsenal, I guess you could say. But Alex has definitely got the power. He doesn't have as many as Izzy, but he's definitely got a lot in the tank. Izzy has fought strikers before. He's beaten Robert Whittaker twice. He just hasn't had it put on him since Kelvin Gastelum, honestly. And I'm really curious to see if Alex is going to press the action forward while cage cutting. I think that's going to have to be a key. I think he's going to have to cut off Izzy's exit points in order to corral him. You have to corral Izzy because Izzy is very good against the fence. When you go for a takedown against Izzy, if Alex is even to, he has extremely good takedown defense on the cage line. In open space, I wouldn't claim that he has great takedown defense, but we haven't really seen him get taken down in open space other than Jan Blachowicz, who put him there and was able to hold him there. Now, will Alex Pereira go for a takedown? To be seen. There's no evidence to say that he will because we haven't seen him go for a takedown. He's knocked out everybody. So I can't really claim that he'll go for a takedown when I haven't even seen him do one yet inside the UFC. Now, I think Izzy will go for a takedown or at least feint for one multiple times. I think that he, like I said earlier, has to remind Alex that this is MMA and not just kickboxing. Who would I pick in this fight? The odds makers have this fight. Let's see. The odds makers have this one at Izzy on DraftKings at -190 and Alex Pereira plus 160. The line movement on this it's been pretty consistent. Nobody's really fluctuated too high or too low. I really kind of agree with this line. I think that Izzy should be the favorite, just because he's had more experience inside the MMA octagon, inside the UFC, where Alex is only on his fourth fight, and he's also just been doing kickboxing prior to the UFC. So, yeah, I would lean towards Izzy. I think that this could either be a decision or a knockout, honestly. I mean, but that's kind of just everybody knows that is this fight going to be slow paced? I don't think so. I think Alex is actually going to try and put it on Izzy, and I think Izzy is going to have some adversity for the first time since he fought Kelvin Gastelum. But I am going to lean towards Izzy to win this fight. I just think that he has more, with the wider arsenal, the more experience inside the octagon. I think he has a speed advantage as well. I think I'm going to take Izzy in this fight, but this is the MMA, this is UFC. I mean, people get knocked out all the time when you don't expect it. So don't get me wrong, I would definitely not be shocked whatsoever if Izzy were to get knocked out, or vice versa if Pereira was to get knocked out. I don't think it would be a shock to really anybody. It's going to be a close fight. I'm excited to see it. And yeah, let's jump into the co-main event, another title fight on the card. This one is for the strawweight belt. This one is taking on between the champion Carla Esparza versus the former champion Zhang Weili. And I'm just going to say it. This is going to be one-way traffic. Zhang Weili is going to walk through Carla Esparza like she wasn't even there. I saw a tweet. I forget who posted it, but I almost agree with it. And the tweet was in the context of, I think there will be more takedowns and takedown attempts in the main event than there will be in the co-main event. And I don't think I agree with that statement. I don't see how Zhang Weili loses this fight. I mean, she's coming off that amazing knockout of Joanna, and before that, the 2 losses to Rose. And I honestly had her winning the rematch with Rose. So I think her record really should be 22-2 coming into this. And Carla, of course, coming in off the most boring fight of all time, in my opinion. The gifted win over Rose. It really should have just been a draw because of lack of action in that fight, honestly. But, she is on a 6-fight win streak. And if she's going to win this, and if let me steel man myself. If Carla is going to win this fight, she has to fight like how she fought Yan Jianan and then take that to the next level. She has to, her coach is saying that she's going to bring something new that we've never seen before. And frankly, I don't know what that could be because we've seen Carla do wrestling. We've seen her have a little bit of power in the hands, but she hits air most of the time and then shoots for a takedown. And so, I think she has to get a takedown, and she has to find the back in some way. Create back exposure, like kind of how Aljamain Sterling likes to where you leave it to where the opponent turns away to maybe escape the takedown, and now the back is to you, and you're crawling up the back and working for a submission from there. Other than that, I don't see how she beats Zhang Weili. And just watching the embedded that came out yesterday, you're seeing Carla hit pads, and you're seeing the difference between Zhang Weili hit pads, and yes, sure, it is just pad work, but Carla looks slow. let's keep it respectful. Carla just looks slow compared to Zhang Weili. She doesn't look as strong. She doesn't look as crisp. She doesn't look like she has the power that Zhang Weili did. I just don't see how Carla is going to win this fight. When Zhang Weili fights, it's one of those women that you tune in to watch because she is trying to finish the fight. And in every single fight that she steps in there, and in all moments, in all areas of the fight, Zhang Weili is trying to stop her opponent. And, just look at who she's fought. I mean, she's fighting the best of the best. I mean, going back to 2019, Tisha Torres, unanimous decision, but that was one-way traffic. Jessica Andrade TKO'd her to win the belt. I mean, that was 42 seconds in the first round. The fight with Joanna is probably the greatest female fight of all time, the first one. And then she had the fluke, well, not fluke, but she had the, instant knockout against Rose. She got head kicked. Fair play by Rose. And then, like I said, I thought she arguably won the rematch with Rose. And Rose kind of got that one. And then she had the spectacular knockout against Joanna. And that first round was not even close. That first round went to Zhang Weili in that fight as well. I just think that Zhang Weili is going to walk away with this fight pretty cleanly. Odds makers have this one. Zhang Weili minus 350. Carlos Esparza plus 290. I honestly could see this line widening. When it opened back in July, they had Zhang Weili minus 150, and it's only gotten bigger since then. And I could honestly see it going almost even minus 500 by the time the fight happens. I don't see how Carla wins this fight. I would feel pretty confident picking Zhang Weili by finish inside the distance. I would almost even put it. What are the odds on that? Fight doesn't go to a decision. Is minus one. It's the favorite is that it's minus 125 on fight won't go that round. Yeah. Let's see. What other prop bets? Whaley wins inside the distance is plus 110. You know, so. Yeah. This this is not. Yeah, look at this. I think this is BetMGM has Whaley wins by KO or TKO at plus 480 in round 1. Every other round it's plus 2,000 and up. So, yeah, that just tells you that this is going to probably be quick. Yeah. You know. What can I say? I think and new John Wiley. And let's go to the feature, the feature bout on the main card. It's not a title fight. We've got Michael Chandler taking on Dustin Poirier, the Louisiana guy. This should be an all action affair. You know, Michael Chandler coming in off of his win over Tony Ferguson with a spectacular front kick knockout to the face. Probably is going to win knockout of the year at this point, in my opinion, or it's at least in the running. You know, and then we of course have Dustin Poirier coming in off of his loss. We haven't seen him since last year of December when he lost to Charles Oliveira. So this is the return of Dustin Poirier. Yeah, this should be a great fight. Both guys are all action, both great boxing. Michael Chandler, I think, has a little bit of the wrestling advantage. Poirier has a very, very good guillotine, so I don't think Chandler can be too overexposed shooting in on a double leg. Yeah, I think if I had to pick one in this, I'd probably take Poirier, just based off of experience. Well, not experience, but I think he's got the power advantage. I also think that he has the gas tank to outlast Michael Chandler, because Michael Chandler, for lack of better words, blows the wad sometimes, and goes out in the first round to kind of just close it out as soon as possible. And I think Poirier's kind of shown that he can outlast it. Evidence shown the Dan Hooker, where he kind of got it put on him in the opening rounds, and then closed the deal in the last few rounds. Yeah, the odds makers have this one minus 210. Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler plus 180. I kind of agree with that line. I could see it being a little closer. I think Michael Chandler should be closer to that one. I think Dustin Poirier shouldn't be a 2-1. I think it should be closer to, minus 150, plus 150, if I had to really be honest about it. But I think the size of Dustin Poirier is going to be a factor. I think the speed advantage is going to go to Michael Chandler at first. I think, though, that he slows down, and I think, I think Poirier is probably going to win this one. I don't see how it goes to a decision, honestly. I think somebody's going to be put to sleep, but especially given the fact it's only a 3-round fight. If this was a 5-round fight, I would feel even more confident picking Dustin Poirier. But I could see Michael Chandler catching Poirier, just because Poirier's been in there for kind of some wars now at this point in his career, and let's pull up his record. He hasn't. His last loss via knockout was Michael Johnson knocked him out back in 2016, but he's had some good wars in there. I mean, his fight with Justin Gaethje was a brawl. Max Holloway was kind of one-sided, but I mean Max did some damage in that one. Khabib, of course he subbed him. Dan Hooker, that fight was back and forth. The two McGregor fights were competitive, but he was never in serious danger in those fights. And then Charles, I mean, he had Charles knocked down and was still able to finish the fight. Yeah, I think I probably had to pick Dustin Poirier, like I said, to win this fight. should be a great fight. Should be a great fight. The rest of the card is good. I think we've got the final fight for Frankie Edgar versus Chris Gutierrez. That should be a good one. You know, I hope Frankie wins just because he's walking into the Hall of Fame as soon as he hangs it up. Couple other good fights on there. You know, Dan Hooker taking on Claudio Pujols, Brad Riddell, Nato Moicano, Dominic Reyes versus Ryan Spann. The return of Dominic Reyes. Meatball Molly McCann takes on Aaron Blanchfield. That's a great fight. Andre Petrosky, who's I think he was a Dana White's contender. No, he was a tough guy. Wellington versus Wellington Turman. I mean, there's just great fights all the way up and down this card. Yeah, I would definitely tune into this card this Saturday. It should be a really, really good one. Yeah, but I want to talk about it. Next thing I want to talk about, though, we're going to jump promotions. We are going to go to ONE FC. They've got ONE Prime 4 coming up on November 18th. That's in not this weekend, but next weekend on Friday. They've got some really good fights on this card. 3 that I really want to talk about. The first one I want to talk about, I think, is the people's fight. The fighter that everybody really knows from ONE FC, in my opinion. And that is Rodtang Jitmunan taking on Joseph Lasiri. And this is for the Flyweight Muay Thai World Championship. And you should be excited for this one. This is going to be a classic. And if you don't know who Rodtang is, just Google him. Just look him up on YouTube. I mean, I'll post a link in the description to one of his last fights. I'll post one of his ones that he just had with Haggerty, a fighter we're going to talk here in a minute. But yeah, Rodtang really needs no introduction from me. But I mean, 268 wins, 42 losses, 10 draws, and the kid's only 25 years old. Legend of the sport. He's coming off of a win at ONE FC 157, where he won a unanimous decision over Jacob Smith, the Brit. And this time he's taking on Joseph Lasiri. Lasiri is going for his double champ status after he just won his first title over Prajan Chai. Yeah, for the flyweight Muay Thai World Championship. So this should be this should be a good one. This should be a good one. You know, let's see. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah, because Lasiri is the strawweight Muay Thai World Championship champion, and Rodtang is the flyweight Muay Thai World Champion. So Lasiri is going for double champ status. You know, or no, Rodtang is going for double champ status. Yeah. Either way, this is going to be a banger. Both these guys are great strikers. Rodtang is definitely more so of the push forward, come all go, no stop kind of style. I would almost, Muay Mat is really the way I would describe it. If you really had to get technical with it. Look for leg kicks, heavy leg kicks from Rodtang. Look for the finish is coming. He likes to throw heavy combinations. And the series is very technical. He's got great high kicks, great body kicks. He's longer than Rodtang, which would be interesting to see how Rodtang deals with the reach on this one. I think the overall size advantage is going to go to the series, but I think that Rodtang is more of the tank that's going to come forward and try and close out the fight. There's no odds I can find on this fight, but if I just had to, here, let's see if I can maybe find some odds. If I had to guess, Rodtang would probably be a favorite. You know, on this fight. Let's see. Here we go. Yeah, no odds released yet. I would guess Rodtang is probably the favorite. I think it's just an experience thing. I think the power is going to be in his favor too. You know, the ties are good, man. The ties are good. The Thais are really good. But Lasiri did look really good beating Prajan Chai in his last fight. I'll link that one in the description. Prajan Chai is no slouch by any means either. And Lasiri kind of beat him pretty handily in that fight. And so, yeah, look for this one to be a really instant classic. I mean, it's such a good stylistic matchup. Two young guys, really in their primes. Rodtang is just a legend, man. I mean, over 300 professional fights, and the kid's only 25 years old. I mean, that's incredible to me. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to pick Rodtang in that one. Yeah. Another fight I want to talk about though is a former foe of Rodtang, and that is Jonathan Haggerty, and he is taking on Vladimir Kuzmin. It's the return of Haggerty. His last fight was back in February, where he beat Monclo Pech of the Pekindi Academy. That was a unanimous decision, and his opponent is 17-1. Vladimir Kuzmin, he's pretty good. He's beaten some good guys himself. I think Haggerty is probably going to take this one, but Vladimir, he moves around lighter on his feet, whereas Haggerty is kind of a traditional Muay Thai stance where Vladimir fights almost like Muay Thai, like he's in MMA. He has had some MMA experience. I would probably give the power advantage to Haggerty. I think he has the crisper striking as well. I think he's the better overall striker as well. This should be a good one. It's a good bounce back fight for Haggerty. I think he gets another win or two under his belt. He could be fighting Rodtang again, or fighting Lasiri, or fighting for the belt again. I'm excited to see this one. He's had some good fights in the past, and it's going to be cool to see him back. He's just fell on hard times with injuries and everything like that. So it'll be exciting to see him come back. I'm probably going to pick Haggerty, but Vladimir's pretty good, man. Vladimir's pretty good. He's honestly pretty big for the weight class as well. He looks bigger than the weight class that they're fighting in, which is at where is this fight at? It is a bantamweight Muay Thai. Yep. So it'll be interesting to see how this one looks. The final fight I want to talk about on here, I didn't do this I didn't do it on purpose, but it's the main event. It's going to be Kamarin Abasov versus Christian Lee. This is a welterweight world title fight. Christian Lee, of course, is your lightweight champion, going for double champ status. Christian Lee is really good. He's really good. I'm not even going to deny it. He's coming off of a win over OK Rayun. This was where he reclaimed the lightweight world champion. He is he's 16-4. He is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's 7 wins and 1 loss in his last 8 fights. So he's good, and there's six of those wins have been TKOs. So it'll be interesting to see how he looks in this one. Abasov, of course, is coming off of a loss to Randy Ritter, who is really good, who is probably, in my opinion, one of the better fighters in that whole promotion as far as the MMA side. This is a tough bounce back fight, I would say, for Abasov. But it should be a good one. I would tune in for this one as well. This whole card is really good. There's a couple other good athletes on there, good fighters on this one to watch. But I know most UFC fans aren't really familiar with the ONE FC promotion, but I highly encourage people to start to really check it out, because the fighters over there are good, and the Muay Thai fights are fun to watch. They really are. Also on this card is Cosmo Alexander. He's the guy who sent Sage Northcutt to Valhalla and jaw surgery in one fight. He's fighting Juan Cervantes. That's at welterweight Muay Thai. There's some good fights on this card. There's some good fights. So yeah, remember, tune in for that one. That's on Friday, November 18th. That's on Amazon Prime. So make sure we check that one out. Let's see, what else we want to talk about. Last weekend there was, good fights for the UFC. The only thing I really, I wasn't. The fights were good. Can't really complain. But the real headline coming out of last weekend was the strange betting action that happened on one of the fights on that card. The last minute action on it was insane. And honestly, I saw it happen. Well, I didn't see it happen, but I was paying attention, and I saw that Sherman had dropped out and the fight had come on, and I was just scrolling through the verdict app to just make my picks, and I pulled up on the fighter. I never heard of the one fighter that ended up winning. I'm blanking on his name right now. I'm sorry. And I clicked on his record, and he had like 30 wins and 12 losses. Then I clicked on Minner, and I've heard of Minner, but I just couldn't remember. Nothing stood out to me. And then Verdict hadn't posted his statistics or previous fights or anything like that, and it was so last minute, I didn't really have time to look it up. And I just went with more experience, and I just YOLO went first round knockout pick, and I ended up being 100% correct, but not for the reason that it appears to be. So it's very strange because Minner comes out, and in the fight starts, he comes out and he throws a body kick and then openly winces. You could visibly see him wince as soon as he threw the body kick and it landed. And then for whatever reason, even though he winced in pain, repeats the same technique and clearly hurts himself even more. And then he gets swarmed on and finished. Ref stops the fight and it's over. And what makes this strange is that, before, in the last hour before the fight, Minner's opponent went from, I think, a minus 180 to minus 400, minus 500 on some sites, which is not normal. It's like a 30-40% change in the line in the last hour, which is definitely not normal. Yeah, so a couple things could have happened here. One, the first option, which I think is the fairest to assume right now, in my opinion, is that, without more evidence, I think this is the one that is the most believable, in that he threw the kick, he hurt his knee, or he didn't know how badly he hurt it, and he just went for it again, I guess, and really hurt it, and that was it. Second one, he had hurt it in training, totally possible. And then wanted to see if it was how it was feeling, and tried, hurt, finished. That was it. Third option here is that he knew it was hurt, tried to fight anyways. They did not disclose that it was injured, and then somehow people found out, and betting action goes crazy. And, if somehow it was leaked, or you had somebody had the information and then took advantage of it in the last hour or so, that's not good. This is all on the heels of the UFC telling fighters and fight managers and such that they are no longer allowed to bet on fights anymore to hopefully prevent this from happening. But, I don't see how you can prevent a fighter from not disclosing an injury to the UFC pre-fight. I think that's going to continue to happen. These guys, they go through all these training camps. They need to pay the bills. They need to pay back their managers. They need to pay back coaches. And they're going to try and, make a living. This is what they do for a job, the majority of them. Some of them have second jobs, but they've been training for these for, 8 to 10 weeks, sometimes 12, sometimes even longer, just to earn a paycheck. And then if they don't fight, they don't get that paycheck. So I think some fighters just try and tough it out. Maybe he just needed the money and he just wanted to take his show money. But if he went in there with a hurt knee, there was no way he was ever going to win a fight. It's kind of the same thing as TJ Dillashaw, 2 weekends ago, where he went out there with a hurt shoulder, and I don't know what he was thinking and tried to fight the world champion on one arm, which I don't understand how he could ever thought he was going to win, but that's beside the point now. It's just, we need to see more evidence of what happened here. I think there's an investigation going on, conducted by the UFC's betting lawyers, I guess you could say, or the people that really take a look into this kind of stuff to make sure that there isn't, illegal activity going on, or some kind of insider trading, for lack of better terms. It's not a good look, though, either way. It's just one of those controversies you don't need to have. You don't need to have. Minner, if Derek Minner was hurt going into this fight, like, what are you doing? You can't expect to win if you have one leg. It's the old Karate Kid Part 3. If a man has no legs, a man cannot fight. It's that thing. I don't understand what he hoped to accomplish if he knew he was injured. Strange all around. We'll see where it goes. We should get to the bottom of this, though, but I wouldn't be surprised if there is no resolution to this whatsoever. It's just kind of how it is. Sadly, that doesn't mean it's okay, but that's just the world we live in. Yeah. But alright, guys, that's going to do it for this week. Make sure you like and subscribe to the video. Check out our old videos, and tune in next week. We'll talk about UFC 2, these fights coming up this week. UFC 281. We'll go over, review some of the results and everything like that. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.